Hey, welcome back. Sean here. In today's video, this is a continuation. I picked up this Troy-Bilt Storm 2410 actually from our city dump last week, and I don't know what the story is on this, so I figured what we're going to do, let's go through and see why this snowblower was thrown away. As you can see, this thing is in really good shape. Now that the snow is all melted off of it, I'll come get you guys and bring you over here and you can take a look at my find here. This snowblower is in really decent shape on here. The tunnel and everything is in nice shape. We're going to see about getting this thing started up and see why this thing was thrown away. This is it's got a 208cc engine on it. I mean, everything seems to be okay. Auger control works. Traction drive works. Your gears. The chute turns on it. And this model right here, let me stand this thing up. I mean, it shows a 2014 date on there. This machine is not that old. So the first thing I'm going to do is check the oil on this. Make sure it's got oil in it. Does got some oil in it. But the thing hang on a second, guys. I'm smelling a lot of gas in that oil. All right. Yeah, it's really strong with gas. But it doesn't have any gas. It doesn't have any gas in the tank though. Let me put a little gas in it and we'll pull on this and see what it does. So if I'm smelling gas in the oil, that tells me either the needle and seat is sticking in this and it's not shutting gas off and it's getting into the engine oil, or we just plain got carburetor issues going on with this. But we are going to soon find out. I won't put too much fuel in there. Well, let's see what this thing does. We'll start on a slow speed. It's pumping fuel. That sounds odd. Try choking it. Huh. That does sound kind of funny, doesn't it? Let me go ahead and pull that spark plug on this a minute here and see what that looks like. It sounds like it's just getting a bunch of fuel dumped into it. I don't want to run it too much if this crankcase is full of gasoline. That's a real quick way to wash the rings out on an engine. Well, let's see what the spark plug looks like. Oh. It's wet, but it did start up and run. I think I'm just going to drain the oil. Usually I like to run an engine a little bit, get some heat in it, wash any of the contaminants loose in the engine while I drain it out, but I don't trust what I'm smelling inside the crankcase right now, so I think it would be the smart idea to do that before we proceed any further. Oh my gosh. Look at that, y'all. That is straight gasoline in that crankcase. Look at that. That is just like gas. It smelled awful pungent when I pulled the dipstick out of it. Whew. But hey, look at this, what I just drained out of there as I swish it around. That is definitely more gas than oil, isn't it? That definitely, that concerns me on this engine. Well, that was definitely the right call, this pulling the drain plug on this. You've seen how thin that is. That is this mostly gas and less oil in this engine. So I think the smart thing to do at this point is, before we go too far, is we need to take a look at the carburetor on this and see what's going on with there. If there's dirt or debris or something in there, it's not letting the needle and seat shut off, and it's just dumping gasoline into the crankcase. That's what we're going to do first. And I tell you what, I hate these type of snow blowers because all this plastic nonsense they got on these. You got to pull all this off just to get to the carburetor. Oh boy, this is going to be a little bit of a workout, isn't it? But geez, just sitting here right now, I can just smell the gas from that oil coming up out of here. Well, even with that being said, I warrant no reason why someone would throw this away, not unless this engine is there's more going on than what we know with it yet. But we got to start somewhere, don't we? Well, we'll start by pulling this stuff apart. All this plastic nonsense to get to the carburetor. I'm just going to put my spark plug back in this to make sure nothing gets in that engine while we're working on it. I mean, look at the snowblower here too. It's still even got the plastic wrapped around here. No, I was going to take this thing doesn't need a whole lot to get it up going. I was gonna keep this snowblower here actually for myself, for a backup snowblower. The one that I have is that thing's about 25 years old now, so, and things coming down the road for us on Shaw's Garage, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to have another snowblower on hand. I'll tell you, some of these snowblower carburetors, they're not the easiest to get apart, that's for sure. I will tell you that. Alright, there's our carburetor. I'll go ahead and take this over to the bench and pull it apart and see what we got. Well, that nut is tight. Well, bowl gasket there was leaking on it, but it doesn't look awful. It might just be this might be the smallest particle stuck between that needle and seat on this. So yeah, that bowl gasket's definitely no good. Maybe that spring is missing on this needle and seat. Nope, you can see it right there. That's not it. That needle on there doesn't look bad. I'll go ahead and I'll pull that jet out of there. Some of these China carburetors on these jets can sometimes be a bugger to get out of there. Oh wow, that one came loose. That's rare that happens. Come on, baby, get out of there. Jet doesn't look too bad. get that nozzle out. Oops. There's our nozzle. That don't look bad. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to throw this into the solvent tank overnight and soak this up and let it clean up really good, and then I'll come back out tomorrow and put this back together and put this on a snowblower and see if our fuel issue straightens itself out. I pulled this out of my solvent tank this morning and cleaned this all out and cleaned all the fuel passages out and rotted the nozzle out of it and the main jet in it and washed it all up real good and assembled it with new bowl gaskets. So we'll go ahead and put this back on the snowblower and see how it goes from here. See, it's really cool that manifold gasket on there is in really good shape still, so I'm not going to replace that. Carefully slide this carburetor back on and hook up our throttle linkage. I think before I get too far ahead, I want to take and run some fuel, more fuel through this gas tank on here just to make sure there is nothing inside down there that could cause a problem. So otherwise the whole carb clean we just did would be for nothing. So I'm going to go ahead and put some oil in this thing. I'll be honest with you, I'm a little nervous about this engine for the simple fact, how long has this engine been run like this with all that gas in it? So I'm hoping there's not any engine damage that's been done. But once we get this thing fired up, we'll just kind of evaluate it from there. It'd be a shame if this engine got ruined, But if that's the case, I will keep this unit and I'll just repower it with another engine. I won't let this, chassis go to waste. Well, okay, I'm going to go ahead and crack the shop door open here. The carb's all back together on it. We got the crankcase full of oil. This time it's got oil in it, we know for sure, right? And we got some gas in it. So, well, let's take and fire this thing up and see what we got now. Goes forward and backwards, that's a good thing. That works. That motor does not sound good in this. I can even kind of see it spitting oil out over there. Yeah, she doesn't sound real good, does it? I have a feeling what happened with this, and this is probably why they threw it out, is they probably ran it like this for a while with all that gas in it, and it's washed the rings out of the motor. I mean, it's smoking. All right, well, we're right here. Let's see if our electric start works on this. Gotta like that. The warmer this engine gets right now, it's definitely running worse than what it was. So I'm looking down the cylinder here, my little borescope camera. There is some scratches inside that cylinder. I can't really get a 100% visual of everything. Not too much carbon on top of that piston though. But the cylinder does look really glazed inside there. I mean, you see a little bit of the crosshatch kinda there inside. There's definitely been some damage done though. I can concur that. All right, let's have a discussion on this right now with what we found with what we've done on this snowblower. One thing we can agree on, it's got a fuel issue going on. I mean, the crankcase in this was full of gasoline. So with that being said, I'm leaning toward the fact maybe there was something going on with the carburetor and fuel is getting past that needle and seat. And the design of the air intake going into the carburetor on this snowblower, it has an elbow that curves up. It doesn't come straight out, and your gas, if it's getting past that needle and seat, it can't leak on the ground. So unfortunately, it only has one way to go if this is going on. So it's going to go into the intake manifold and into the crankcase. And when we pulled the carburetor off first, okay, after we put gas into it, the minute I pulled that carburetor back, it just shot gas out right between once we broke that seal. And say, for example, let's look at it this way. If this was run like this for a while and they had this problem going on, and say if the rings were getting washed out on this, I do not buy that that is the cause of why this thing is running 100% the problem it has. Well, okay, if the rings was, okay, hypothetically speaking, if the rings are washed, when this motor is running right now, it sounds like it's running rich, like it's loading up. You know, you agree with me? And even if the rings were washed and we got compression issues going on this, yes, that can mimic the engine like it's got a rich condition going on, because fuel obviously cannot burn properly because it doesn't have the compression to do that. But what I'm going to do is, I suspect there is something not right with that carburetor. If there's something internal going on with the fuel passages in it, maybe it's got a pinhole leak in it that's getting inside the venturi and the throat of the carburetor that's causing it to leak in. I'm just not buying if this has, if the cylinders are washed out and it's got weak compression that's causing the issue that it has right now. So I got a carburetor coming from Amazon right now. I should have that tomorrow morning. I'll come back on this tomorrow and we're going to try putting a different carburetor on this and see if this thing smooths out. And if it does, great, problem solved. We kind of have an idea what was going on with this carburetor. See, something else too that we don't know about this. Did someone, see, you can pull the carburetor bowl off the bottom of this. Did someone maybe do something with a jet, maybe change a jet or something in there? But I don't know. I don't buy that either, because that bowl nut was on that carburetor pretty hard. I had to reef on it to get it loose. But we'll come back to this tomorrow and we'll put that new carburetor on there and see how that makes things shake out. All right, well, good morning. We're back here. I got the new carburetor in from Amazon for this machine. I'll take and put a link in on my description if you have one of these type of machines and you're wondering what carburetor this takes. This is the guy right here. Let me show you what you can expect to get in this carburetor kit, of course, before you purchase it. It comes with a new pump and a new primer hose and primer, which is nice to have because sometimes those don't work. And as well, you got the gaskets for it and a couple fuel clamps. And here's the carburetor itself. Now, this carburetor here on this machine has a long plastic shaft that comes up that your choke knob goes on. You'll have to take and remove that from your old carburetor and it just snaps in there. But that's what she looks like. It's a Huayi or whatever how you pronounce that, just like the one that's on it. This is considered an OEM replacement. Again, this is a China engine and so is this carburetor. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this thing back apart again, pull this plastic crap off, and we will swap the carburetor off. And once I do that, I'll come right back with you and we'll start this thing up again and see if this running issue will smooth out. Well, we got the old carburetor removed off this and our new one from Amazon installed. So I guess the only thing we'll have to do, let's start this thing up and see if it runs any better now. Does run a little better. too bad. Not too bad. Well, how about that? That's a good deal right there. So apparently there's something going on in this carburetor that was on it. Now, what could be going on with this, and this is what happens to a lot of these China-built carburetors, these things are so mass-produced, and you know, it's inevitable you're going to get a batch of carburetors when they're made that could have some porosity issues going on inside. Now, when I had this thing apart, everything looked clean. It didn't look like it was neglected or abused. I mean, there were some traces of dirt in it, but nothing out of the abnormal. So what I suspect has happened, and I've read different bulletins on some of these carburetors, and there's been discussion. These carburetors are so mass-produced, and there is porosity issues into the casting of these carburetors, you know, and that's going to affect the fuel passages in the carburetor. And it could be over time, there's some of the alloys in there that break down just because it's not real rigid like it should be. And when that happens, you got fuel passages that run through the side inside your venturi and the throat of this carburetor. And if that breaks loose and puts a hole in there, that fuel can leak inside that venturi, and that can cause a rich condition. So I would bet that's what's going on with this, because you seen when we put this new one on, problem solved. But you know, even though, let's talk about this right now. When this come into the shop, the crankcase was full of gas. So we're just making educated guess on what's going on with this right now. We really don't know. It's possible that this snowblower was put away after last winter and it sat all summer long, and maybe a piece of debris got stuck inside the needle and seat and flooded the crankcase. Or this is something that's been going on for a little bit. It's had rich running conditions and they just used it, okay? And maybe it just got so bad that it just keeps introducing gasoline in that crankcase. It just got to the point where it ran so bad, and they just thought the motor was, possibly they thought the motor was ready to blow up in it. You know, if it's someone that doesn't, you know, have a lot of understanding how an engine works. So there's a lot of different scenarios that could have gone on with this. But the bottom line is, hey, you know, I've got $30 into the snowblower right now. And what I don't understand is, why wouldn't somebody at least take it to a shop and have it checked out? Or maybe they did and they told them the engine was junk, and maybe they checked the oil and seen it was full of gasoline and they thought, well, you got washed out rings. Well, that's one thing. You never want to assume anything when it comes to this stuff. That's why you want to be thorough on your troubleshooting. Run a bore scope down inside that cylinder like I just did. You know, I looked down there and seen some scratches, yes, but I did not buy. It was enough that that cylinder was wiped out enough to cause any major running issues with this. So, and when we first started this, it labored and was loaded up from the get-go. So, and even once we gone through and cleaned the carburetor on it, it didn't change, did it? If anything, you know, the more it ran and the hotter this engine got, the more it ran worse. So yeah, this was a good save, wasn't it? Good will it run. On other things, I just want to take a minute here, and I want to thank all the viewers and my subscribers that follow the channel and take an interest in what we do here. I greatly appreciate that very much. I also want to take a minute too. I noticed too I have some viewers from Norway and Sweden. I just want to say hello and thank you for watching. I greatly appreciate it. We got some more cool videos coming to the channel. We're going to get back on this 1966 Toro Snowhound 20 behind me. We're going to get this gas tank repaired on it so we can get this thing running more and do some more testing with it. We're getting close on the 1944 9N tractor. We're getting close to starting that thing up after it's been sitting for 2 years. So lots of great things coming to the channel that I'm excited about. And I've mentioned before that there's going to be some big changes coming to the channel, all positive. I don't know where that's going to go right now. Had a couple setbacks this week on something, so we're going to have to regain traction on that and see how that rolls out. But until next time, I'm Sean Parmalee, and we'll see you in our next video. Take care, everyone.